Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to our Instagram live today, and we will be expecting our guest for today, which is Praveen Prajapati. He'll be joining us very quickly. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do right away. Let me quickly invite him. We have. Alright, sent him the request. While he joins us, the let me give a quick background about him. Hey Praveen here. Hey, how you doing, man?
Hi, Abhay. Thanks for calling me.
Arey, so thanks for joining us on our Instagram live. Let me quickly adjust my camera. All right. Uh, is this looking okay, or am I just too dark on the face? The lighting wise is okay, right?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, is there
perfect.
any echo from my end?
No, your sound is perfect.
Okay, good.
Awesome. And we have a few people who are joining us right now. We have Shreya. Hi Shreya, how you doing? We have Ria who's joined us. We have Akanojia. I don't know what's the actual name, but Akanojia who's joined us. Uh, Viraj is also joined us. The Viraj. Hey Viraj, how you doing? Um, and we also have Robotics Wizard who's joined us. Robotics Wizard who's doing a fantastic job in STEM education. Hey Robotics Wizard, how you doing? Aman Swarnakar has also joined us. Hey, welcome to our Instagram live. And so, Praveen, what we'll do today is we'll wait for let's say a minute or two. We'll have more people who'll join us, and we'll start our conversation in a bit. And it's Anita. Oh, hi Anita, how you doing? All right. We also have Dinesh and Sky Safar Sir. I don't know how you say that, but hey, welcome you guys. So for those who have joined, a quick brief about what Praveen's doing. Praveen is the founder and CEO of Indrones. They have been working in the space of drone surveys, drone-based land surveying, drone-based mapping, and a whole bunch of other drone services. In fact, that's what we are going to find out more from Praveen today. We have a couple of other people who've joined. Sudhir, hey Sudhir, how you doing? We also have the bearded Bucky. I really want to guess your name, but I'm not going to risk it. Welcome to the call. And we as Tony.in like to collaborate. Happy to collaborate. Awesome. We have a few people on the call right now, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a lot of people who will continue to join us during the call that we have. So Praveen, why don't I jump right in, right? Why don't you help us with understanding what does Indrones do? What are you guys about? What are you guys into?
Yeah. So Indrones is a basically a surveying company, you can say, which has been using drone technology. We started the journey into the drone industry from a college. Started as a college project basically, and somehow uh, that knowledge and curiosity grew, and we went to kind of participate in 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 let's say commercial angle. We started doing a job in the industry. Started. We were very. I think there's some disturbance that is coming.
From my side, is it?
I
Let
don't
me
know.
quickly let me quickly check out something. Just a minute. Does it seem to have reduced a little?
uh, yeah, I think a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically we were very fortunate during that time. The first, I wouldn't even say drone. The first plane that we built
Hmm.
was in our college project back in 2012. And we were very fortunate that right after graduating, we got an opportunity to work with a government organization as a pilot project. We were a team of very early team, and it was a very gradual, journey to Indrones now becoming a company which is doing surveying and mapping. It's the years of experience that has been a very gradual transition for us. So yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. So you guys started right out of college, is it?
Yeah, very interestingly, it doesn't happen very often, but I mean, we gave our exam, and then the very next day we had to kind of go in Delhi and go join in the organization. And I'm very thankful to the people who were part of that early life. They really motivated us and gave a immense knowledge that has now been part of the entire journey that we have.
Superb, superb, superb. So, you mentioned a very interesting thing right now, where you mentioned that you guys are a company that does surveying and mapping while using drones as the platform. And it's like that's what I keep talking to our community all the time, where you are right now you are very much a drone company, or most companies are drone companies. But as the market evolves, as the industry evolves, there will be drone companies in the specific domain where they will sort of provide service or value in a specific use case, while
Yeah,
drone will be just a platform that makes it very possible. Awesome,
true,
awesome.
true.
So you mentioned you are using, you are doing using drones for land surveying and mapping, right? Um, can you help us understand a little bit on how are these tasks traditionally done, and how long does it take? How does the whole process happen?
Yeah, so basically till now, I mean, we would have all seen, we are based in Mumbai, but that's pretty much true in every case. We all would have seen those guys on the road with some yellow instruments, doing surveys, basically with a pole or an equipment. They're all doing basically surveys. So they are trying to understand what is the elevation of a particular place, how, what is the kind of boundary, what is the area wherever a road project, a construction project, any infrastructure that is being built on, survey is usually the first thing that everybody does. So traditionally, that has been the method wherein you take some very high accuracy equipment, go to the field and capture those data. But as you can understand, since person has to go at every point and corner, even to do a small plot of few acres, it's going to probably take a day, 2 days, even a week sometimes. What drones do is a little bit different. The technology, the base of the technology is called photogrammetry. Uh, what photogrammetry is again a very old technology, and people have been using this. But what drones have made it possible is they are flying very low to the ground. So there are two things that happen. One is you are not bothered how whether there is a cloud cover or not. Second, since you're flying so close to the ground, the inaccuracies is going to be slightly lesser compared to, let's say, a satellite-based imaging,
Right.
wherein the inaccuracies are a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
So, the task, which by traditional means probably used to take from few days to weeks, is now getting, so the field activity for drone surveys typically is, few hours for a small piece of land. For a larger, again, it will depend on what kind of equipment and all we are using. But I'm telling you a typical example of, let's say, 10-acre size, where a traditional survey might take a couple of days to survey that. A drone, similarly, a similar size land can quickly finish that job in like an hour or so. So
Wow.
that's an
Nice.
advantage. but there is of course a trade-off, right? Nothing in the
Uh-huh.
world is all good.
Right.
So so this trade-off is to do with the accuracy of the data that we gather, and
Mm-hmm.
the land survey, which used to give now level accuracy, now in data that goes to centimeter level. But not all projects require level accuracy. At least, let's
Exactly.
say a preliminary survey. If an
Right.
organization wants to acquire land parcels or just generally understand how much it is going to cost to level out the land, they are
Mm-hmm.
okay with few centimeters. So that
Right.
is where it is exceptionally helpful.
Got it. Got it. Um, which industries do you see typically uh, using this service, land surveying as well as mapping?
So, Apurva, as I mentioned earlier, survey is basically the beginning of any project. Like
Correct.
when I say any project, I mean whether you want to start a residential project, a commercial
Mm-hmm.
project, a
Mm-hmm.
factory to be established, a road that needs to be made, power lines from where we are getting our power. Everything starts. The first step is always survey,
So
and
even
each of
power
these.
lines require the land surveying that you guys are referring to.
Yes,
This is
yes,
new to me also. Right.
yes, yes. So, I mean, we would have all seen that, power lines over mountains and all. But how are
Mm-hmm.
they establishing? How are they understanding that, what is the best way? They would not want to spend too much time in basically leveling out the land, right? So
Right.
in fact, power line is one industry which can use this technology to the most extent. In fact, a lot of companies have already started doing that.
Awesome, awesome. And so this is what you're referring to is the land survey portion, the surveying job of the portion. And in
Yes.
case of mapping, which are is it primarily just governments or is it the other, are there other companies or other people who would also want this sort of data?
Right. So I think both of them go hand in hand. Mapping is nothing but me telling you that if I take Mumbai's map, so where all are the hospitals? I want that to be mapped on a
Right.
sheet of paper or on a digital canvas. So that is it. So let's say somebody like a big corporate, somebody like Reliance or somebody like Jindal, they want to establish a new factory somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So they would want to acquire the land. So they would want all those physical features to be mapped on the ground. So
Mm-hmm.
where all are the roads? Is there any power line that is passing by?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what is the kind of plotting of the land and who does it belong to? So you create all these maps, they take all these information and then go approach the owner of the land that, hey, we want to establish this, we would like to acquire your land, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how things happen. Typically, they would have to go to the government, let's say, a legend, a government book, and they have to kind of find that out. But it is also possible today with these kind of things that they can easily map out those areas.
Got it. Got it. And I assume this would give them a lot more data with very less amount of time, right?
Yes, yes.
Uh,
So pre-feasibility survey is typically what we would call this, that
Correct.
whether it makes sense to establish a factory here or
Hmm,
somewhere else. So
hmm, hmm,
it is as easy, low cost. So he can probably choose and survey 4 areas instead of
hmm.
sending a team out, which will take days together or weeks to come out with the output.
Understood. Understood. You just walked us through how much time that the drone survey can help save when you're looking at least the preliminary level surveying. In terms of cost, is there any fair amount of difference in terms of money that I'll need to spend to get that much land surveyed? Is there a difference for the user and is there a difference for the person who is giving that service? Can you help us understand that bit?
In terms of costing, I would say drones. It's so we have to understand the economics of scale here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Whereas a land surveyor has a limited capability or capacity
Mm-hmm.
of how much area can he do in a particular day.
Mm-hmm.
Drones, as we know, are ranging from a small multi-rotor to large fixed wings as well.
Correct.
So economy of scale is something that works out in this favor. So if you talk about just 1 or 5 acre of land, probably drone is going to be expensive because of the logistics and all these costs that are there.
Mm-hmm.
But as we talk about, 500 acres, 1,000 acres, the
Mm-hmm.
drone can do the same job in probably the same cost as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
the only extra effort that goes is into the post processing, wherein as we know, the computing technology is increasing day by day, and we've got a famous quote that computers are becoming twice as powerful and half as effective in as less as 2 years, in as
Correct.
less time as 2 years. So it's
Correct.
going to only get cheaper.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So
Do
if
you?
if if there is a large corporate, it makes perfect sense. But if you are, let's say, a landowner who owns, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, a piece of 2 acres, and you
Mm-hmm.
intend to, so it may, if not more, it may work out to be less. I mean, it might be possible for the same amount of money for a small user.
Got it. Got it. That makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to go off topic a little bit. And there was this announcement recently by the Prime Minister where he mentioned that they are targeting drone surveys for all the villages across the country and kind of build a good repository. Do you
Yeah.
expect that that will help the industry, the people? Like, what sort of impact do you imagine an exercise like that will have?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the positive news that I mean, especially the drone industry has seen in a while, and that shows the kind of scale that we can achieve. And it's a very timely question also. So Swamitva Yojana is what it is called, and it has been a great step that has been taken. Our national mapping agency, which is Survey of India, has taken the honors of kind of doing this project, and DGCA and MOCA has just giving them the green signal just yesterday or today, I believe today early morning. I saw that they have been given a green signal, so that opens up a lot of opportunity. India is a huge country and we've got so much of work that needs to be executed. So Survey of India is potentially going to give opportunities to a lot of people. A lot of skilled people would be needed to kind of make this dream a reality. We'll have a better databases available with government departments to make use of it. So it's going to get very, very interesting.
Awesome, awesome. Just a shout out to a few people who've joined us. We have Click Shantanu. Hi Shantanu. We have Alok Kumar. Be like RDD. Hey RDD, how you doing? We have Dharna, Ashish, Nitin Raj, The Walking Cherry, Drone Man, Harshit Z, Shubhu Dusane. Some of who have joined us today. Welcome, welcome to our Instagram live. We're talking about we're talking about the usage of drones in land surveying and mapping, and what sort of opportunities lie for providers as well as users of this technology. Awesome. Uh, Let me come to a little bit around the tech that is being deployed, and so especially from a layman's perspective, right? For a beginner, I wanted to understand what is the sort of tech behind the data gathering. If you can just imagine I'm a fifth grader and you are helping me understand how are you using a drone for doing this process. So can you just kind of walk us through it?
Yeah, so uh, as I said, that the typical workflow behind doing a survey using drone is photogrammetry. And what is required in a photogrammetry is so there's an image, I need an overlap, like uh, the two images should have some overlap, and at the same time, I should have some side lap. That's what is essentially required. So,
Mm-hmm.
what that essentially means is I need a way for my drone to fly in a particular pattern. We call it the lawn movers pattern. The way you clean the grass of your lawn.
Mm-hmm.
So you go and then you take a U-turn, you come back, and then you again take a U-turn. You keep on doing that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the typical uh, flight plan that we
Okay.
need to have. And in doing so, the camera that is there on the drone needs to
Mm-hmm.
kind of understand where it needs to take pictures.
Okay.
Is there a lot of noise here?
I just, yeah, I think they started some sort of a construction activity in the my
Oh,
next
okay, okay.
building. Let me do this.
I
Let me find out a slightly more silent place where there'll be a little less noise. I generally sit
okay.
here because this is a place where I'm guaranteed to have good internet connection. But let
Okay.
me sit here outside.
I thought that's because of my headphones. I haven't used this headphone for a while now.
And no, no, it's very much on my side. Um,
Okay. Yeah,
Awesome.
much better now.
So yes, you were walking me through this process. So you mentioned the lawn mowers route that you generally take for the
Yeah.
process of mapping. I wanted to understand two things. Number one, does each image need to be geotagged with the GPS coordinate? And do you require a gimbal when you're flying a camera with this drone?
So yes, both of these things are very common, and opinions are very different. But as somebody who has been doing this for a while, geotagged, it is recommended that your images are geotagged. If they
Mhm.
are not, then they will be lacking a scale. Like
Mhm.
if there is an object of 5 centimeter on the ground, it may not be 5 centimeter, it may be 10 centimeter. So you need to scale your image according to that.
Mhm.
If the georeference is already there, perhaps all the scaling will be proper. So it is recommended. Uh, for the gimbal, I don't think that is required because the modern day applications that we use to do the
Mhm.
data processing, they
Mhm.
are already compensating for all the roll pitch your issues that you are facing during the flight.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, it is again it would be advisable if you want absolute control over your roll pitch yaw, but it is not essential. So we do the first part, which is geotagging, but we don't do the
Mhm.
second part, which is having a gimbal, because
Got it.
gimbal have their own weight, and we don't want weight as much
Correct.
as
Correct.
possible.
Correct. So for some of those who might be watching us, while cost is something that every company is very sensitive about, in case if it's a drone, weight is as much of a cost to the drone as
Yes.
a as a physical money cost is. Every time, like it's a golden rule, as low a weight of a drone you can take, you have to take it as low as possible. Awesome.
Yes.
Um, so you mentioned you work on land surveying, 3D mapping, and if I remember from an earlier conversation, you also sort of have dabbled in precision agriculture for a bit, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to understand in these three different use cases, is there a difference in the operation part of the drone also, or does the difference primarily lie in the data processing that you gather?
Yes, so I would not say that agriculture is in terms of operation is it is any different.
Mhm.
But this is my personal view based on whatever things that I have seen. is agriculture is probably the largest industry or an area where drone could impact in the most influential way in the future. But because especially in the country like India, where you know so much percentage of our income or even labor is dependent on agriculture. So there is a huge value that can be created using drones, but drones are only a tool be it in the survey, be it in
Right.
the agri space. They are only a tool which is mounting a specific sensor on the drone, and they are just gathering the data. So the only difference is that you change the sensor on the drone, and
Okay.
rest all the operative process is same. What comes later in the data processing is a lot different. So as a company, we are mostly made of comprising of drone experts and engineers probably. But to create some impact on agri space, you also need agronomists, uh, you know, agricultural experts, remote sensing scientists. So uh, it will be the later part of the process which will be different, but initial will remain same apart from the sensor being different.
Understood. So, if I understand this correctly, for land surveying and mapping, you're going to use almost the similar sensor, which will be an RGB camera. In case of precision agriculture, you might change that sensor, and most likely they will follow a lawnmower's path to cover the entire area, and it is the post-processing that is going to give you the juice that you're looking for, right?
Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Coming back to in-drones and your operations, uh, do you guys build the drones that you use yourself, or are there some off-the-shelf drones that you utilize for your operations?
Yeah, so Indrones actually started very early on, and as individuals also we very started very early on. And at the time when we started, there were a not lot of good options out there in the market, and that is where we wanted that portion, the technology bit of it, to not be a bottleneck to what we are doing. So we started making our own drones. Uh, but and idea was never to be a manufacturer of drones, but in the process we became somebody who's developed a lot of expertise. So if we wanted to pivot in future, we could, but right now we are whatever drones that we are manufacturing is for in-house consumption, wherein if I have a need of deploying 10 drones, I don't have to depend on somebody else, which is going to be a huge challenge. If I need 10
Right.
drones, which company is going to supply it, what at what
Right.
cost it is going to come in, it's going to be a challenge for me. But with the capability this that we have built over time, it is possible that I can probably deploy 10 drones or even 50 drones tomorrow.
Nice, nice, nice. So you are custom building your own drones for your purpose. What platforms are you using for the drones that you're building?
Yeah. So there is a very nice open source ecosystem that a lot of contributors have around the world have been working on. The Pixhawk PX4, or I will say the PX4 and Ardu Pilot community, uh, which are the two software bits which are working on this. Both of them are open source. You can go ahead, learn how to code that, and start creating your own custom drones. Uh, there are a lot of companies who have built hardware that support these software. So it's basically a bunch of sensors that you make the software take inputs from, and it is basically operating the drones. So we are working on the same architecture. It's an open source architecture wherein we can take things which we want, and we can leave things which is not important for us.
Awesome, awesome. So for our audience, PixHawk and APM are good open source micro drone communities that you can plug into to get started working on your micro drone projects. For nano drones, you obviously have Pluto, and also Pluto. When Pluto enters into micro drones, you know where you have to come to. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So, can you also tell us a little bit about how has the pandemic affected you as a company and this industry in general? Because we've heard different answers from different people, but it will be good to hear your perspective.
Okay, so for the industry, I'm going to be a little, negative here, but I would say it has been a boom in disguise. For just one reason is that people have realized the potential that drones have, right? In terms of whatever utilities that they have shown in the pandemic, a lot of uses of drones have happened during the pandemic. So from the industry perspective, we have gotten some visibility. So I believe
Correct.
personally that it's a great thing.
Hmm.
As a business, we are all interdependent, right? So our
Correct.
customers have faced problems, so we have to face that problem. And we
Correct.
have to
Correct.
face problems. That means our vendors have to face problems. So as industry, definitely there has been a lot of effect.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think as in drones, after a initial 1.5 weeks, we realized that okay, this thing is beyond our control, and we'll have to take
Hmm.
charge if we want to
Hmm.
emerge and grow from this. So we took some actions, and I'm just hoping that we try to be safe and try to continue doing what we are doing.
Got it. Got it. Um, do you see, because of the pandemic, as you mentioned, that there has been a lot of awareness, do you see for the industry as a whole, the pandemic giving some sort of a push for the growth of industry, let's say a year down the line when hopefully this thing has subsided?
I already see that happening. There has been a lot of activity going at the regulators level. The ministry and people have been working very hard, be it in terms of giving waivers to uh, various issues like for operations of during COVID, they launched a separate platform altogether for any government organizations to
Correct.
uh,
Correct.
do an activity. They have given waivers for the locust attack, anti-locust drones.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of private agencies have been granted waivers to do operations within the jurisdictions that they feel is
Mm-hmm.
is their concern. So that's I think is a great step. Although as a country we do feel, I mean, at least the people whom we have interacted with, they want to be cautious and they do not want to just open it up randomly because that will pose some risks, some security risks, and that's why they are cautious. But they have started opening up, which is a positive thing. And while understanding all the shortcomings, we should try to make the most that we can. I mean, we can only hope for that.
Right, 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 right. And open this to our audience. Please type out your questions if you have for Praveen. I'm going to continue with my set of questions, but please put out questions, doubts, ideas that you have on the text. Coming to this, you mentioned about the work that you do in land surveying mapping. What are the sort of operational challenges or hurdles while you are while you're on the field and doing your work? What are the typical challenges that you face?
Okay, so operational channels, I think the biggest challenge for us right now is regulations. Once
Mm-hmm.
the regulation clear out, I think the biggest hurdle will be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Second is I would say that sometimes weather. So you see,
Mm-hmm.
as a drone company, lockdown was something that did not allow us to go out,
Mm-hmm.
and now monsoon is something
Oh,
which will again hinder us.
correct.
Right now, I've got a couple of teams out who are just sitting with their drones on the ground under a tree,
Oh,
waiting when the weather
yeah.
will clear out. So I think
Correct.
that could be one of the challenge. So essentially, the time that we have for most of our operations is
Mm-hmm.
post monsoon,
Mm-hmm.
and just before the summer ends. So that is the best period of operation for us. And remaining, we try spending time with innovating, learning about things.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
and if I have to list down the third one, I would say that sometimes this is not always the problem because of lack of awareness of what
Mm-hmm.
we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we are not the most friendly face on the
Ah,
field
ah,
that we are
ah.
available. So we have to kind of face the, you know, uh, if the locals are not very happy with the activity that is being conducted, we have to be very careful over there because there was
Mhm.
one opportunity which we were working on, and we got to know that the client with whom we are working with,
Mhm.
and the locals were not supportive of that, and they thought
Oh,
that we
okay.
are the guys, we are the devils there, and we had to
Oh,
face the
yeah.
wrath of locals. So
That
yeah,
could be a difficult. That could be a difficult situation if you are in a place where you don't know people and they
yes,
give you as a bad guy. Then could be a very tricky
yes.
situation.
Fortunately, this was in Maharashtra, and we all can
Okay.
speak Marathi, so it was okay. But
Yeah.
had it been in some place where language was a
Uh-huh.
barrier, it would have been a very difficult
Correct.
situation.
Correct. We have a question from Ashish here. He's asking which specific type of GPS would you recommend to configure without APM 2.8 controller in India?
Okay.
Um,
Um, with GPS controller,
I'm guessing which GPS receiver is he referring to? Which GPS would you recommend to work with an APM 2.8?
with APM 2.8. So any of these receivers having, I think M6 M6N, I believe, starting from there to now M9 is coming in. But with APM, if you're talking about the older 2.8 boards, you'll have to go with the older GPS chip only,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a direct georeferencing. You have to kind of log in the trigger points
Mm-hmm.
where the autopilot keeps on logging the information,
Mm-hmm.
and then you take that log out, and then you use an application to basically georeference the images.
Got it. Got it. We also have another question from the Walking Chari. I think it's a two-part question. Any examples of use of drones in rescue and rebuild after Amphan and Nisarg? Uh, yeah, and I think the second question that is asked is it okay to geotag based on an older survey? But why don't we focus on the first one? Uh, any examples of the use of drones that you have seen in rescue and rebuild after the Amphan?
Yes. So in Amphan, there were a couple of uses of drones. We were contacted by one of the insurance companies to kind of do an assessment of the entire damage that has been done because they wanted to pay out the claims. But due to lockdown, of course, our team could not travel, so we could not do that. But locally, I think India Flying Lab did a fantastic job.
Mhm.
They in partnership with some people in West Bengal itself, they conducted some activity. I haven't spoken to Ruchi about that, but yeah, I think they did some task over there. But that was a great effort doing everything locally.
Got it.
For Nisarg, I don't think we saw a lot of damage. Did we?
Mhm.
I
I
don't
think
think
there were
we.
I think the damages were in form of uprooted roofs and some trees that fell down. I think there was damage in terms of the fruits going bad or the trees were crashing down. But in terms of massive flooding and rescue ops, I don't think that sort of this happened. I could be wrong, but this is my limited knowledge that I know about this. We have a very interesting question from Krish Gada, which is what is the maximum range of your drone? And that's a question that keeps coming to us all the time about all sorts of drones. So what is the maximum range of some of the drones that you guys have built?
See, the typical range of the drone will depend on the how powerful transmitter that you use on the drone. And our typical range is about 4 to 5 kilometers, but we never go that long because by regulations we are limited to fly line of sight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So uh, at max we go is maybe 1.5 kilometers or something. Uh, that's our comfort range till
Mm-hmm.
which if it's a very remote area where the visibility is quite high and we are able to see the drones and all, then we can go maybe to beyond 2.5 kilometer. But usually we try to restrict ourselves within 2 kilometers.
Understood. Understood. We're seeing a lot of more interesting questions, and I'm going to come to some of these. I mean, these are some of the more active questions that are coming compared to a whole bunch of other Instagram lives that I've seen. But there's one very, very important question that I want to ask you before we come to those. I personally am very, very bullish about usage of drones in land surveying, mapping, and applications like these. And as you mentioned, also the precision agriculture portion. Um, question The first question is, do you see a lot of job opportunities in this area in the time to come? And the second portion of this question is, if the answer is yes, what should a job seeker, say is a college student or just like a fresh young grad, um, who wants a job in this domain, what should he equip himself with? What sort of skills should he look to acquire in case he's wanting to jump into this field?
Right. So, okay. Uh, Uh, to simply answer the question, yes, there is a huge opportunity that is waiting for us to go and grab it. With, as we discussed already, Mr. Modi's announcement, everything was like, all of us were so excited that, yeah, it's a big deal, right? A prime
Right.
minister of a nation talking about a particular technology is a great deal. So, and that too for a specific project.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, there is a there is a I would let me divide that into three parts. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
opportunities into three parts.
Mm-hmm.
One would be very basic businesses, right? Somebody would want to sell the drones, do repair, maintenance, after sales of the drones, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very
Mm-hmm.
basic job. Uh, Second would be behind the operations and know-how of how to operate it, like learning about regulation, what you can do, what you can't do, things like that, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
and the last bit is going to be really high-tech stuff, which is AI and building and deploying various solutions of the
Mm-hmm.
data that has been captured in part B. to make it useful for agriculture or inspection or mapping applications. So these are the three categories. If I have to put it in terms of a current industry, let's say aviation. So aviation, there is a MRO company, right? MRO, maintenance and everything is being done by
Correct.
them. And there's a second piece which does the operations. They follow. So all your airlines, they follow the regulations which is there in place. They hire the trained staff to do that. If required, they also get the training done for the staff. And then this last piece is data piece, which is probably unique. And we already have in India, we already have a great skilled people coming from our IT sectors. So there is a need that people can specialize into using drone data to kind of come up with solutions. So today, what we have seen is, the reason why I have listed this three, but apart from that, there is the fourth one, which is the most obvious one, is manufacturing of drones, right? And the
Right.
reason why I have not listed that is because everybody who thinks about drone, he thinks about, okay, I can make a drone,
Correct.
but
Correct.
that's not needed actually, because
Correct.
uh, there will be bigger companies. I mean, maybe this after sales guys were probably lesser on skills. There will be a company which will build for that, and
Correct.
that is potentially a higher investment game and longer term game compared to the
Correct.
job field that we're talking about. So I
Correct.
have tried to answer between this.
Correct. 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 Awesome. But then, let's say if you are looking to hire someone, or if people in the industry, the peers are looking to hire someone, what sort of skills would they look for in a person who they would want to get on board and get going?
Right. So, okay. So, right now, let's say I am looking for somebody in the GIS and data processing and kind of going the step further away from what we do, what we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
So, somebody who's already been working with, let's say, some sort of scripts, JavaScript or Python or something, who has been working with drone data using
Mm-hmm.
this traditional programmings and all, he's going to be a very valuable asset to my team.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in terms of, let's say, a drone manufacturer, right? A drone manufacturer would be looking to use the same set of skills, but for a very specific cause. That somebody who understands the dynamics of flight, right? And he is basically the one who is working on the control loop of the drone. So he would want him, apart from understanding the control loop, he would want him to have certain background of the general aviation as to what works, what doesn't work. So
Got it.
it's basically a mixture of the two technologies, and that's what we essentially look for. And right now, I mean, as time is growing, we are also learning whom should be
Right.
every second person is teaching us something. So
Nice.
we are also open to learning.
Awesome. Awesome. We've got some more questions from the audience. We have Dharna, who's asking us which software do you use for the photogrammetry slash post processing data in the land surveying?
Yeah. So I'll give the answer for myself. We use a software called Metashape. It's from a company called Agisoft.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we feel is the best, but it's I mean it depends on multiple users and their choices. There are three, four very good softwares out there, and one can pick and choose which one suits their requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those would be Pix4D. There is Context Capture from a company called Bentley. There is Photomesh from a company called Skyline,
Mm-hmm.
and there is Semantic Correlator 3D from a company called Semantic. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
these are few applications that I think somebody can look into. There is an open source application as well called Open Drone Map, and if somebody is just interested in if they can modify a software, probably they can start there and build their own custom way.
Awesome, awesome. We have one more question that's come from Chetan, and is there someone? Yeah, Chetan, who's asked us. This is in context of the Gagan satellites that have gone out and the Navig that has been opened up for Indian manufacturers. Do we have receivers that we could integrate onto drones using the Gagan system, or do you think that will take some time to come in?
I think if somebody wants, they can integrate it. Although the options of receivers is not as wide as the GPS and GLONASS receivers that we have out there. Uh, I think that's one of the reasons why not all companies have started using that. But if somebody comes out, usually most of the GPSs that we see on drones, it's not
Mm-hmm.
one constellation. They support multiple constellations. So
Mm-hmm.
they also have GPS, GLONASS, Baidu, everything. So I think if somebody comes up with a receiver which is not only Navic but also supporting other constellations, just for more redundancy, I don't think it will be difficult to integrate that as well.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, coming to again a broader industry perspective and a little futuristic dreaming perspective, uh, where do you see the industry around 20 years from now? What possibilities do you see coming up in these next 20 years, say?
Oh, okay. 20 years is a long time. I don't think I can comment for 20 years, but
Mhm.
I can definitely tell you, let's say next 5 to 8 years. 20 years probably would be too long to take a guess. We may have, I don't know, flying cars also.
Right.
Moment.
Sure,
Somebody's
sir.
at the door. I'll just open it up.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. No problem.
Instagram live पे हूँ. Uh, okay, sorry about that.
No problem. No
Okay.
problem. Yeah.
Uh, all right. So, if I have to give, let's say 5 to 8 years window only,
Mm-hmm.
I can comfortably say that we'll have a robust regulation in place,
Mm-hmm.
which would, or at least we hope that it takes care of all the security aspect that nobody is no I mean, at least the good guys are not interested in
Mm-hmm.
compromising in any way.
Correct.
So we do see a future wherein it'll be much easier for people to kind of put drones to any specific use very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And the two industries that I feel is going to be extremely, seeing positive growth is
Mm-hmm.
one, agriculture, and
Mm-hmm.
second would be deliveries, right? So we
Hmm.
have seen that the bigger names in the industries have already started uh, work in deliveries. So these are
Mm-hmm.
the two industries that I see is going to see more than probably anticipated growth.
Mm-hmm.
Surveying and mapping is going to have a relatively constant trajectory. We're not going to see this. We probably see this, right?
Got it. Got it. Got it.
So yeah, that's what I see.
Mhm.
It'll be easier, probably more like a commodity, right? Drone
Mm.
will be a commodity where as we are already envisaging, it's nothing but it's a tool which has got a
Correct.
camera and you can use for any specific purpose.
Right. 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 Just
So
like
it's
a
going to be all,
computer, it will be a
yeah,
commodity in times to come. I'm curious
yes.
on what you mentioned. I totally agree with you on the agricultural portion of it. In fact, I somehow imagine in the next 10 years, each gram panchayat should have a local drone that is deployed for its own farms and its own areas. What I'm very curious to know about is the drones for deliveries. Do you imagine a drone that goes to a retail end user for deliveries, or are you imagining a hub to hub situation for the delivery using drones?
Uh, I think it's going to be, see, the challenge today is probably of the last mile delivery, right?
Okay.
It takes 2 hours for your shipment to come from Delhi to Bombay, but
Mm-hmm.
it takes, 8 hours or maybe more.
Right.
You get it the next day
Mm-hmm.
because from Mumbai airport to your house
Correct.
is going to be a big challenge.
Correct.
So the way I see this is the concept. It was very well mentioned in one of the, I think one of the drafts, which was launched in Global Aviation Summit.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of drone ports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so you've got these infrastructures and they are all somehow interlinked, and you've got a mechanism where drone takes off from there, picks up something, goes and lands somewhere, drops
Mm-hmm.
drops whatever it needs to do, and then you have some sort of, people have also kind of worked on these ideas that there will be specific zones where all the packages will be dropped in, and then you
Mm-hmm.
go and you collect it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that in a city like Bombay, a drone is going to come and drop the parcel at your doorstep.
Correct.
It's more going to be like your building has got a delivery mechanism on top of it, and
Mm-hmm.
drone comes in and drops in the package there, and then you have a system by which you collect it. If you're
Mm-hmm.
expecting, keep a notification that okay, whenever it comes in, I see that. So I think that is the sort of thing that I feel it's going to work out, but it could be anyway, right?
Right.
I
Right.
I see a great use in terms of things. So zipline, right?
Correct.
It's the probably the best and most successful model that we have seen in the recent time.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, urgent deliveries. So I
Mm-hmm.
remember some of these conversations wherein, one of the largest chain of hospitals were discussing that, we want a particular, I mean, equipment to be delivered very, very quickly to our hospital as
Mm-hmm.
soon as it lands at the airport.
Got it.
So those are the things that I see is going to grow very quickly because the package is so urgent. It could be a question of life and death.
Got it. Got it. I just gotten a notification from Instagram saying that I have 1 minute 50 seconds left.
Okay.
Let's try to take one more question from so let me see. We have from Ek Anita, I think that's her name. What is the support that you're expecting from the government or the authority right now? And I think I flipped my camera. Yeah. And if you can answer that in 1 minute or 30 seconds very quickly.
Yeah, so the current support is two. One is trying to open up the regulation as much as possible,
Mm-hmm.
considering all the safety aspects, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Second would be probably building a grant, a fund which could help companies who are innovating in this sector. There's no
Mm-hmm.
specific fund that is available. Of course, there is other defense funds and all,
Mm-hmm.
but there should be a specific funds. This is also an idea. I think we have also been discussing at our internal meetings also in DFI
Got it.
also, and I think that
Got it.
would be a great help.
Awesome. Awesome. And one final thing, how can people get in touch with you? How can they connect with you?
The easiest would be info@indrones.com. I think to reach us, just shoot an email to info@indrones.com, and happy to kind of have a chat, see how we
In
can help.
Awesome. Info@indrones.com, right? That's where you can reach out to him. Thank you, Praveen. Thanks a lot. It was awesome talking to you, and speaking with you is always fun, but it was also super for our audience. And I can see that there's a countdown